Another delay and another price increase related to the proposed indoor turf facility. Good evening and thank you for joining us. Thunder Bay City Council will be asked once again to push back a final report on the controversial facility.
June 3rd is the new date, after it was discovered that a deeper foundation will be necessary because of soil conditions at the site next to the community auditorium. Josh Morano is following the story. And Josh, what does that do to the price of the facility?
According to a memo to Council, an estimated $600,000 is being added to the original cost for a concrete foundation due to contaminated soils at the site. The new costs will still keep the project within the approved financing strategy for up to $44.6 million, but it would be over the $38 million upset limit approved by Council last November. The final report for the Soccer Northwest indoor turf facility has been pushed back until early June instead of the original March 25th date. City Engineering Director Kayla Dixon issued the memo to Council with the new timelines. She says the delay on the final report is due to contaminated soils found at the site.
We have received the reports on our geotech and environmental studies and found that the new recommended foundation for the facility is actually a piled foundation, and that does increase the cost of the original recommendation, which was a shallow foundation.
President of Northwest Soccer, Michael Veneziali, says he is disappointed that there is yet another setback. He points out that his group previously encouraged the city to hire a design-build contractor to visit the site and create models for the city. He believes this will not only save time, but by the end, reduce costs.
If they decide to go that route, we've heard from administration year over year saying that they're swamped, they're busy, and they're having trouble keeping up and getting these things done on time just because of the sheer amount of work they've done. Another benefit of going to this design-build RFP route, not only is it going to save money, it's going to save a lot of time because the developers are ready to do this. We know from working with several in the city.
Dixon estimates that dealing with the contaminated soil by using a concrete pile foundation will cost an extra $600,000. She says those costs are still within the previous overall estimate. However, she says the numbers are not set in stone and could change due to other variables.
We need to consider what this information means as far as the final design costs, what other costs might be associated. So for example, now that we're doing a piled foundation, maybe there's less soil that needs to be excavated and transported to the landfill. So there's certainly some details around those that we need to consider.
We didn't know exactly what type of foundation was going to be required until the full geotechnical was done. So when the plan that we put in, the price included $1 million contingencies exactly for something like this, and the city's plan was about $2 million for contingencies. So it's not new costs at all, it was something that was expected to happen.
A full report will be presented to Council June 3rd, which will include the results of a financial analysis of the facility, including expected revenues, operating costs, and life cycle costs. Despite the latest developments, city administration has not changed the construction start date, which is still slated for spring 2025. Josh Morano, TBT News.
Thunder Bay Police are asking for a Good Samaritan or other eyewitnesses to come forward to help with an investigation at Boulevard Lake. Police say there was an alleged incident involving a child. Officers were called to the parking lot near the main playground at Boulevard around 5:30 yesterday evening. Police say it appears a citizen came to the aid of a young boy. No other details are being disclosed. The Good Samaritan was believed to be a man wearing a white hat, red jacket, and blue pants. Anyone who may have witnessed the interaction is urged to contact City Police as soon as possible.
The OPP's Joint Forces Guns and Gangs Enforcement Team has made 9 arrests and laid 63 charges in a major drug bust spanning across much of the province. Search warrants were executed in London, Mississauga, Vaughan, and here in Thunder Bay on February 28th. City police were involved in the operation. The total seizure province-wide was more than 3 kilograms of cocaine, over 1 kilogram of powdered fentanyl, 3 loaded handguns, and about $210,000 in cash. The potential street value of the illicit drugs seized is about $630,000.
A formal partnership has been signed for a project to create sustainable energy solutions here in the Northwest.
Officials with Lake Nipigon Forest Management and Char Technologies hosted an open house in Herkett yesterday regarding what they call the next generation of renewable natural gas. The partnership is between Char Technologies and 4 First Nations, AZA, BNA, BZA, and Red Rock Indian Band. They're all cooperating on an ambitious venture called Lake Nipigon Forest Sustainable Energy Solutions. The idea is to convert unused wood fiber into 2 types of renewable energy sources for our region. The project has been in the works for the last couple of years and was originally supposed to be built in Nipigon. An open house was held in that community in 2023, but the location was later changed to this spot in Herkett after an environmental assessment gave the property off Lofty Davis Road a clean bill of health.
I've always been waiting for the First Nations to get opportunities like this, and now it's happening. I think about my children, my grandchildren, the opportunities that they're going to have coming. You know, it's fantastic. It's just it's about time that this.
Hardy goes on to acknowledge the importance of creating sustainable energy and the significance this partnership will have for generations to come. Andrew White is the CEO of Char Technologies, which has a technology called high-temperature pyrolysis. He explains what the process entails once the biomass is collected from the forest.
So as we heat it up, we basically crack the wood into 2 products. One is a biocoal, so that gets used for metallurgical coal replacement, so decarbonizing heavy industry. The other is a gas that we can upgrade to renewable natural gas. So it's completely interchangeable with natural gas, but it's made from renewable sources.
White goes on to explain what these types of renewable energy would be used for, which extends from home heating to bigger structures, which would be hard to electrify in the future, but would be easy to decarbonize. Jordan Hutton is part of the cooperative with Lake Nipigon Forest Management. He details how so much biomass left over from the trees is usually discarded by being burnt, and how that has a negative impact on our environment.
So now we found a home for that material right now that is currently left out there and on site. So I think it ticks a lot of boxes as far as community empowerment, environmental sustainability, and providing clean renewable natural gas to the system.
Officials here say the new facility in Herkett will come with a price tag of $50 million and will be in operation by 2025. Thunder Bay fire rescue crews were called to a vehicle fire inside a garage at a Northside residence last night. A pickup truck was destroyed, but the fire crews managed to save the garage. It happened on Facina Street around 10 p.m. Firefighters found a large amount of smoke coming from the garage behind the house. The truck was already engulfed in flames, and firefighters managed to bring it to under control before the fire could spread any further. 2 people were taken to hospital with minor injuries. Fire officials are reminding the public to ensure they have working smoke alarms and never re-enter a burning building once you've escaped.
There's another new measles case here in Ontario. It's travel related from a child who was sick while passing through Pearson Airport last Tuesday.
The case underscores the need for people to ensure they're fully vaccinated against the measles. CTV's Sean Lethong reports.
Ontario now has more confirmed measles infections this year than in all of 2023. This after a recent travel-related case confirmed by Hamilton Public Health.
We have publicly notified regarding exposures related to a flight arriving in Toronto from Saudi Arabia, as well as an exposure in the Pearson Airport where members of the public may have been exposed to the measles virus.
The flight was on March 5th, number SV61. Officials say that individuals in Terminal 3 may have been exposed between 3:25 p.m. and 8:30 p.m. on March 5th as well. 8 cases of measles have been reported in Ontario so far this year.
Measles is the most contagious virus that we know of, so containing the spread is challenging. The advantage we have is most Canadians have been vaccinated for measles, or if they were born before 1968, had already had a measles infection.
There has also been a unique case confirmed in York Region of a vaccinated person that officials say must be community spread. Doctors are urging anyone who may have fallen behind on their measles vaccine due to COVID-19 to please get vaccinated as soon as possible, especially if you are planning to become pregnant in the near future.
Avoiding measles during pregnancy is really important, and avoiding measles in children is really important too. We are in a second slower burning crisis, which is antimicrobial resistant. Some of those antibiotics that doctors will use to treat children who are in that vulnerable period and getting bacterial infections aren't as effective as they once were. So this is one of the reasons why we must get everyone vaccinated to prevent measles infection, to prevent any health consequences for children.
Dr. Don Bowdish from McMaster University says that contracting measles can lead to severe health complications during pregnancy and longer-term health issues in children.
And we know that children who have a measles infection tend to get more infections and need more antibiotics in the next 5 years.
Anyone who has not been vaccinated is asked to contact their family doctor or local public health department. Shantley Thong, CTV News.
The Ford government is set to reveal its budget in just 2 weeks' time.
As CTV's Natalie Johnson tells us, one of the most pressing questions facing the province is whether it will offer any relief at the gas pump.
As the cost of living continues to climb, so too does the pressure at the pumps.
With increase of the food, rent, and every other cost, the gas is really insane.
And with the province's current gas tax cut set to expire at the end of June, all eyes are on Queen's Park and whether the Ford government will carry on with that cut when it reveals its spending plan in 2 weeks' time.
I know you can't reveal the contents of the budget, but fair to say you're considering extending the cut to the gas tax?
You're right. I'm not going to reveal what I'm doing in the budget, but we've been at this for a while. When look, we had interest rates and inflation we haven't seen in decades here. It's hit people hard.
The Ford government lowered the gas tax by 5.7 cents a litre in July 2022, which it says has saved the average household about $260.
The number one issue in every single poll, doesn't matter what party, who does it, is affordability. Affordable gas, affordable homes, and affordable groceries.
It comes as the federal carbon levy is set to rise on April 1st, just days after the province reveals its plans for the gas tax.
It seems what one government is giving, another government is taking. Put it mildly, it's not a small or insignificant amount. The total hit for consumers on gasoline alone will be 20 cents a litre on April Fool's Day.
I do not understand for the life of me what the federal government is thinking.
The Ford government now faced with whether to sacrifice $500 million in revenue to avoid driving away voters.
I'm running out of money to pay for gas, and I hope somebody will do something about it.
We gotta drive no matter what, We maybe not be able to get the high gas, but, we get the low gas.
A price that is forecasted to keep climbing. The question for the province is by how much? Natalie Johnson, CTV News.
A new location for a local favorite. East Coast Lobster officially made the move today from Brentwood Mall to one of the city's oldest buildings in Westfort. The two-story building at 1515 Brown Street dates back to 1880. The classic R.S. Piper sign on the north wall has been preserved, while the front of the building has been given a brand new facade. East Coast Lobster owner Aaron Gillingham also owns the Sal restaurant in Westfort. He purchased the 145-year-old building with the intention of renovating it and expanding the seafood business. The new location is filled with vintage wood and brick components from the many other stores that operated there before, including Mayer Hardware. Gillingham details how important it is to bring the past into the future.
There is a ton of history in this building, and everyone proudly says when they come in, that they bought their first barbecue here or toboggan here, or they still bought hardware all those decades ago. And so that's a big part of the story. We refurbished a lot of the signage and wood and everything you see in the store. We tried to keep as much of it as we could. So everyone comes in and tells their story, and we like to hear it. It's cool.
The renovation project received a city grant of $25,000, which is given to improve and beautify older buildings in the city.
Another Northwestern Ontario resident has won big with OLG. Nipigon's Linda Robbins took home $500,000 in the February 16th Lotto Max draw. The public sector retiree says she was about to check her ticket at the store when her husband told her, quote, "Holler for me when you win." As he wandered away, that's exactly what she did, though she notes she could barely speak and her heart was racing. Robbins says she'll treat her husband with a, quote, new toy and share some with the grandchildren. The winning ticket was purchased at the bargain shop in Nipigon.
This is 2 days in a row now
That
we've had
is.
stories about Northwestern Ontario residents winning big in the lottery. Fiona, let's turn our attention to the weather now. A little disappointed, no double digits today. We're getting pretty spoiled.
You're a tough customer.
Well, I mean, come on, I was expecting 11 or 12.
Very demanding, very demanding. I did warn you we were going to see temperatures fall, but we are still well above normal for this time of year. Last night was our basically third night in a row with temperatures at -4 the last 2 nights, -5 last night. Wind chills very similar, making it feel a couple of degrees cooler. And today we warmed up to 8 with winds for the most part from the east, very light, 6 to just 15 kilometers per hour, and increasing amounts of sunshine as the afternoon progressed. And sunshine is what is going on throughout northwestern Ontario. It's a little bit more cloud as you head to the northwest in Red Lake. They're currently at 4, 6 for Kenora, Sioux Lookout, Dryden, Upsala, Fort Frances, very, very consistent. Lots of sunshine to the west as we head into Fort Frances and up through Greenstone today. They're currently at 3, Armstrong at 5, which is a vast improvement considering how cool it was last night. Along the North Shore, still on the plus side in the lower single digits, and even Sault Ste. Marie a little bit cooler today under partly cloudy skies. They're currently at 3 Celsius. Here in the city of Thunder Bay tonight, we will drop down a little cooler than it has been, but still a little warmer than normal for this time of year, about a degree or two warmer. We're looking at -8 and wind chills very minimal, just -10, and that's under clear skies. Now, this is going to set the stage for kind of a mixed bag for the weekend. Tomorrow, we are looking at the clouds to increase and not going to see a lot of sunshine, but in the overnight hours into Saturday, it's going to be very, very mild, but it's also expected to be quite wet. We're looking at potential for rain and then possibly snow because as the weekend continues, the temperatures are going to slip back below the freezing mark, and that's going to set the stage for a cooler weekend. So apparently, Ryan, nobody's listening to you. Mother Nature has no interest in your demand for double digits because it looks like we're not going to see those next week.
What's going on here? Snow? We're supposed to be completely done with all of that. All right, well, maybe not just yet. Thanks a lot, Fiona. All right, let's turn our attention to international news now. As gang violence continues to grip Haiti, Canada is pulling much of its embassy staff there, leaving only essential employees. We'll have those details when your news hour continues right after the break.
It is not easy, the humanitarian and security catastrophe that's going on in Haiti right now.
The situation is going from bad to worse in Haiti. Canada is now pulling some embassy staff out of the country, following the U.S. and some European countries.
The country is in turmoil with criminal gangs, a growing humanitarian catastrophe, and a government in freefall. And a plan to bring in some kind of transitional governing council still hasn't been finalized. CTV's Mike Couture reports.
Smoke wafts from Haiti's National Penitentiary. It follows a reported jailbreak orchestrated by armed gangs in the capital, Port-au-Prince. The situation deteriorating, Canada has relocated most staff from the embassy, and they will now continue their duties from the Dominican Republic.
It is not easy, the humanitarian and security catastrophe that's going on in Haiti right now.
Canadian officials wouldn't say exactly how many were airlifted out of the country, but did say between 10 and 50% of the team remains behind. While Canada's embassy is closed, the ambassador, essential staff, and additional security remain behind.
Canadian staff also stay in their house, in their quarters, and nobody is going to the embassy.
According to Global Affairs Canada, just under 3,000 Canadian citizens are in Haiti right now. They have all been instructed to shelter in place or limit movements, with gangs controlling up to 80% of the capital. The airport is closed, so Canadians like David Rochelot are left in limbo.
We have no departure date yet. All the airlines have canceled all the flights out. So
Rochelot is about half an hour south of the violence that has gripped the capital for months and led to the resignation of Prime Minister Ariel Henry. Kenya has agreed to lead an international police force to restore order, but only once a transitional presidential council is created. And locals say any new leadership should be chosen by Haitians. Canadian officials say there are no evacuation or repatriation flights scheduled to get Canadians out of Haiti, but they are developing plans in case that becomes necessary. Mike Couture, CTV News, Ottawa.
More TikTok news. One day after the U.S. House of Representatives passed a bill that could ban the app, we learned that the Canadian government ordered a national security review of the popular video streaming app last year, but never made that public. CTV's Alison Bamford has more.
We know Canada has been cautious when it comes to TikTok in the past. Ottawa banned the app from government devices last year. Now we're learning they went one step further, ordering a national security review of TikTok Canada in September. The government says the review was based on, quote, the expansion of a previous business. All other information is confidential under the Investment Canada Act. Ottawa did say TikTok would be subject to enhanced scrutiny under a new policy within the Act. But the Prime Minister was short on any other details this morning.
We're watching, of course, the debate going on in the United States, and I can't comment on national security reviews.
In response to the U.S. bill passing in the House, China accused the states of bullying and using unsubstantiated claims of national security risks to suppress the app. TikTok's CEO took to the platform, telling users the legislation will ultimately lead to a ban, even though he says the company works to keep user information safe and free from manipulation.
This bill gives more power to a handful of other social media companies. It will also take billions of dollars out of the pockets of creators and small businesses.
A ripple effect that will undoubtedly be felt on Canadian TikTok.
Obviously, that's not something that I want in terms of being able to create the effect and impact that we're trying to create.
TikTok says it would need Beijing's approval to divest the company within 6 months, something it's not sure it will get. But there's already interest from big-name buyers in North America.
The man charged in Ottawa's worst mass killing appeared in court by phone today. Veribro de Souza's next court appearance has been set for March 28th, so lawyers can obtain disclosure. His lawyers say the 19-year-old is in protective custody. The Sri Lanka national, who came to Canada as an international student, is charged with 6 counts of first-degree murder. He's accused of fatally stabbing a 35-year-old woman, her 4 young children, and a family friend, who were all newcomers from Sri Lanka and living in the home. He's also charged with 1 count of attempted murder for the stabbing of the woman's husband and father of the children.
The U.S. Air Force is airdropping more humanitarian aid into Gaza today. The United States and several other countries have been dropping aid into northern Gaza for weeks as the humanitarian situation on the ground worsens. A ship towing a barge filled with 200 tons of food is also nearing Gaza. It's expected to dock at a jetty that's being built by the World Central Kitchen Aid Organization.
We have liftoff after a slight delay. The SpaceX Starship rocket took off on its third test flight. But during the flight, the Starship lost two key pieces of communication, meaning that the Starship may have broken apart. Despite the loss, major progress was made as it gathered crucial data, improving it for future missions. York University astronomy professor Paul Delaney says the flight was a critical step forward.
They actually never planned to put Starship into orbit. They planned to get it to orbital speeds, do a suborbital flight, and then splash down in the Indian Ocean. They didn't splash down. It looks as if the vehicle did come apart during re-entry, which is not too much of a surprise. That's a very dynamic arena, and flying through that is tough. But the fact that they got that far, that they achieved orbital speeds, they shut down their engines on Starship, they started them up again, they did various in-orbit activities. No, the boxes were largely ticked today. Not all, but largely.
The ultimate aim of the project is to put humans on the moon and later Mars.
Well, back here on Earth, in an attempt to reduce theft at its stores, grocery giant Lobster says it's testing new receipt scanners in 4 Ontario locations, but it's raising eyebrows for many shoppers. CTV's Jackie Perez has the details.
I have to have my fresh tomatoes.
When Julie Hay pays for her groceries, she heads directly to the self-checkout.
I love self-checkout. I find it very convenient. There's never a lineup.
Self-checkouts have become a staple in many retail stores, including grocery stores like Loblaws. But recently, some Ontario customers were surprised to learn they had to scan their receipt before exiting to confirm they paid. The grocery giant says it's an attempt at reducing theft, a growing problem not just at their stores, but in the retail industry as a whole.
I'm for it, more or less. Yeah, if Loblaws is under this much scrutiny, and this is what they need to do, then by all means.
In a statement, Loblaw says organized retail crime across the entire industry is a very serious issue, and it's having an impact on prices and safety. The receipt scanners are a way to protect customers and